Mr. Streeter, I'm showing you what's entitled Court Admonishments and Defendant's Waivers and Affidavit of Admonitions. Did you review that document with your attorney? Did you understand it, and did you electronically sign it in all the appropriate places?
I did.
Did you understand in count 1 and in count 2, you're charged with the offense of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon? That's a second-degree felony. The range of punishment is anywhere from 2 to 20 years in prison and up to a $10,000 fine. Did you understand?
Yes.
Counsel, has your client been able to provide you with any defenses to this offense?
Yes, ma'am, he has.
According to the plea bargain agreement, the state is proceeding on counts 1 and 2. There's a $1,000 fine. State recommends deferred adjudication, and there's restitution to Dylan Klaus, D-Y-L-A-N-K-L-A-U-S. Did you understand that to be the plea bargain agreement?
Yes.
Outside the plea bargain agreement, Mr. Streeter, did you understand that the state is requesting that your deferred adjudication be for a term of 6 years? There be a TAP evaluation, 200 hours of community service restitution, no contact with Dylan Klaus, and no harmful or injurious contact with Madeline Streeter, and a MIC evaluation. Did you understand those are recommendations from the state, and the court does not have to follow those recommendations?
Yes.
Then to count 1 in an indictment, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
No contest.
Count 2 of the indictment, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
No contest.
Dave, do you have any evidence to support the defendant's no contest, please?
State offer states one with attachments, Judge.
Any objection?
No, ma'am.
Will accept into evidence states exhibits 1 and attachments and review the same. All right, after reviewing states exhibits 1 and attachments, the court will find there's sufficient evidence to find you guilty of count 1 and count 2. However, the court will defer finding of guilt as you've applied for deferred adjudication. Are you proceeding with sentencing?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Is there anything you wish to say on behalf of your client?
No, Judge, we would just ask that the court respectfully follow the plea bargain.
Mr. Streeter, what drugs were you using that night?
LSD.
How often have you used LSD?
At the time of the incident, I used LSD over a period of a year to a year and a half, and with a frequency of approximately once a month.
But why were you using LSD?
As a recreational substance.
Where do you work?
I work at the Patriot Heights Independent Living and Healthcare Center that is currently owned by Ensign Company.
Doing what?
It is a residential and medical facility for elderly individuals. I work there as security. So my responsibilities include keeping track of who enters the property, as well as monitoring our safety pendant devices for the independent living residents. And responding
And do
to
they
those.
know that you have been using LSD and you have an aggravated assault with a deadly weapon charge?
Not to my knowledge.
All right, because I'm not gonna, here's the thing, with what I'm reading, you're not gonna be allowed to work as a home health care provider, as supervising vulnerable people. And vulnerable people to the court are people who are elderly and people who are minors. So I'm not gonna allow that to continue. And I don't think it's appropriate for you to be security anywhere when you have 2 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, regardless of whether it was because you were in the throes of some sort of LSD hallucination. How old are you?
I'm 24, Your Honor.
All right, so you're at an age where you should know better. I don't know what's up with young people that act as though they don't know that LSD, heroin, meth is not something that you should be starting. And I do believe that once the company you are working for becomes aware that you have this criminal case, I don't think they would allow you to continue to work there because you're a liability. You understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you're going to find a new job, because whether they want you to work there or not, I'm not going to allow you to work there because there are vulnerable people there.
Yes, Your Honor. I
So
understand.
where are you living?
Knight's Peak.
Well, not the address. When I say where are you living, I'm sorry, that's my fault. Who are you living with? Or are you living by yourself?
At the moment, I'm living by myself, but I do anticipate that within the next couple of months, my grandmother will be moving into this place that I'm living as well. But currently I live alone.
Okay, and whose idea is it is your grandmother going to live with you?
Yes,
Whose idea is that?
that was hers.
All right, I have no control over who wants to live with people, but I personally don't think that's appropriate because I don't think you're at the stage in your life where you should be living with anyone, because this all happened under the roof of someone else with you and one of the complainants. And Mr. Streeter, if you're tested today, what are the results going to be?
Absolutely negative.
This is what the court will do. 6 years deferred adjudication. There's $1,000 fine. That'll be probated. Restitution, if any, to Dylan Kloss. 200 hours of community service restitution, and no payment of the hours will be accepted by the court. You must do those 200 hours. No contact with Dylan Kloss. No harmful or injurious contact with Madeline Streeter. Proof of employment within 30 days. No employment with vulnerable persons, and that means no employment with the elderly or minors or as a home health care provider. And what's the name of the employment where you work now again?
The facility name is Patriot Heights. It is
No
owned by,
employment with Patriot Heights. Random field visits 3 times per month. UA hotline or patch. All right, Mr. Streeter, do you need anything else from the court in order to be successful on this deferred adjudication?
no, Your Honor.
All right, and Mr. Streeter, when I say that there's to be no employment as a home health care provider, I know that sometimes what ends up happening is people have elderly relatives and they end up being their home health care provider, and the government, i.e. taxpayers, end up paying for that. You are not allowed to do that either. Do you understand?
I understand.
We can go off the record, Mr. Streeter. From here on out, while you're on deferred adjudication in this court, every decision that you make, the first thing you need to ask yourself is whether or not this decision will result in me possibly going to prison for 20 years. You understand?
Yes.
All right, good luck to you, Mr. Streeter. So is this a motion to revoke?
No, Judge, I think this is a motion for early termination. Is that right?
Yes, Judge, we were here back in June of last year, and the court was considering the early termination, and the court indicated that we should come back today and that you would strongly consider terminating him. I know the state is opposed, but I know probation is recommending it.
All right, I'll take evidence and we can go on the record. All right. Court is calling 2020 CR 1544, State of Texas versus Alexander Bryant Streeter. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Jason Garahan, Your Honor.
Defense?
Judith Wimmert.
And are you Mr. Streeter?
I am, Your Honor.
All right, this is a request for early termination by the defense. Defense, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. We'd like to call probation, please.
All right.
Okay.
All right, have you conferred with probation before calling them?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Probation, can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, you can lower your hand if you'll state your name for the record.
Bashan Abrams.
All right, defense.
Ms. Abrams, have you had an opportunity to review Mr. Streeter's probation history?
I have.
And has Mr. Streeter complied with all of his conditions of deferred adjudication?
He has.
Was he placed on probation in May, deferred adjudication, May of 2021 for 6 years?
Yes.
Does the probation department have a recommendation as to whether his deferred adjudication should be terminated?
At this point, they are recommending early termination.
I'll pass the witness.
All right, state.
No questions.
All right. I just have a few if there are no objections.
No, of course not.
Has there been any previous violations?
No, Judge.
All right. Any concerns?
No, Judge. He has no violations, no positive UAs. He's current on all of his fees. He's been cordial on all of his visits with his officer. He reports on time. The officer has no concerns at this time.
All right, thank you. Any further witnesses?
No, ma'am, we rest.
State, any witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
All right, I'd like to call the defendant if there are no objections.
No, ma'am.
Sure. State.
All right, can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, what have you learned from being on probation?
Well, the severity of my actions was it resulted in the injury of a close friend of mine. Additionally, it damaged my relationship with members of my family and my community as well. The actions that I undertook were as a result of substance use as well, which was affecting my judgment. And every moment since then, I have taken that into consideration in my day. And my commitment, regardless of my circumstance, is and remains to conduct myself with integrity with regards to my personal choices and to avoid substances and discipline, as well as gratitude.
All right. And what classes were you required to take?
As part of my probationary agreements, I was placed on the UA hotline, and I had completed that, and then I was sent to a drug test. I believe it was monthly. That's the most recent thing I can remember.
All right. Any other questions?
Not from the defense.
Up on the state, Your Honor.
All right. Probation, and I forgot to ask this, part of his conditions was restitution. Was there any restitution amount that was owed? Did you pay me?
Please let me know if I miss.
No,
Hey, it happens. All right, so no restitution is owed? All right, if there are no further witnesses from each court, will hear argument. Defense?
Thank you, Judge. The defendant has been on deferred adjudication for a little over 4 years. I'm sorry, almost 4 years. And I think he's been a very responsible probationer in satisfying all of the conditions of his probation. I think that he's been a good model probationer. Given his youth and his comments just recently to the court, it appears that he has learned that the behavior he was involved in that led to this offense is not acceptable and can lead to severe consequences. And he has in fact changed his outlook on his personal behavior. So deferred adjudication is a process by which a probationer who does act appropriately, have no violations, and completes all their conditions to give them the benefit of early termination. And I believe that Mr. Streeter is a good representative of a person who should be granted an early termination.
All right, state, you are opposed. You may proceed.
Yes, Your Honor, we're opposed to aggravated assault charge.
Let me just review something very quickly. Any objection to the court reviewing the stipulations?
Absolutely not.
All right. So state, have you had a chance to contact the complainants in this matter?
Good night.
All right, so this is what I'll do. I mean, he's completed everything and he's been on probation since 2021.
21.
And his deferred adjudication was for a total of 6 years. So we're already in 2025. The court will grant the motion, but the motion will not become effective until February 11th. State, will that give you enough time to reach out to the complainants? And are you on any type of GPS?
GPS, like an ankle tracker?
Yes.
No, Your Honor.
All right, so I'll grant your motion on February 11th. And that will give the state time to reach out to the complainants. I will tell you that part of my conditions for you on probation, and this was requested, I think, by the complainant as well, that there was to be no contact with Mr. Kloss, but no harm for injurious contact with Ms. Streeter. So the no contact with Mr. Kloss, you should probably still abide by that. Do you understand?
Absolutely.
All right. Is there anything else?
No, ma'am.
All right. Thank you.
May we be excused?
Yes.
Thank you.